Right, well, we could have said start with this at this level, right? Yeah. So we're gonna just say, what is the other part is achieve 300 points. And that's if they get business. That is our students. And somehow figure out tasks for students as part of something that's just good for them to do that, not just as an assignment doesn't, like, you need to problem solve it.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. Let's stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder, I hope everyone that's here signed in on the slip. Jenny likes that. This meeting was submitted to the Green Bay Press-Gazette on Friday, March 13th, 2026. The meeting notice was distributed on Friday, March 13th, 2026 for posting to the Bank of Luxembourg Home Office, Luxembourg Post Office, and Casco Post Office. Our district's mission statement: we inspire minds, challenge students, and promote excellence. We are Spartans. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion's been made by Alex, second?
I'll second.
Second by Brandy, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The Board of Education recognizes the value of public comments on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Prior to making a public comment, individuals must announce their name, address, and group affiliation. Each speaker's comments are limited to 3 minutes. All statements are to be directed to the presiding officer. No person may address or question board members individually. Speakers should not expect an immediate response or reaction to their comments. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak? Come on up. You can stand in front of the computer. Okay.
So my name is Debbie Mercier. My address is 5659 Delcorn Road in New Franken, Wisconsin, and I'm a member of the Town of Green Bay Board. That's why I'm here today. So the Town of Green Bay, I'm sure some of you know where our town hall is located in Champion, and it has been there for many, many years. But it's also titled, and it has been for many years, under the Joint School District Number 3. And so our insurance agent has asked me to clear that up so that if we ever have a claim, there's no question. And so I did a title search and found that in 1957, 4/10 to Castor granted to the Joint School District Number 3 towns of Green Bay and Scott. And it said premise are to be used for school purposes, and in the event that they cease to be used, shall revert to the heirs and assigns of the grantors herein. So the next and only, the final deed was recorded January 24th of 1977, and it's from the Luxemburg-Casco Joint School District Number 1 to Alvin DeCaster, who would be the heir of 4/10. And it says, it's the same legal description of our 1 acre lot, but then it says on there, except parts heretofore conveyed to the school, and except parts used for highway purposes, which the highway purposes, that's kind of common, but, so it's accepting the parts used for the school, which I'm assuming is the building, and that was 1977. So it's still titled as Joint School District Number 3, Town of Green Bay. So I'm here to see how we can get that cleared up. My only thought is, because it really isn't titled in Luxemburg-Casco School District anymore, but it says accepting the part of the school. So, did that remain with the school district? And we've been in that building, I mean, as many of you know, I know Mike, you go over there too, but for years and years. I mean, well, not 1977, because I moved out there in 1987, and we were still in our old town hall, which was next door. So then the school converted to the town hall. So I don't know if we could look at minutes. I looked at our minutes as far back as I could. I don't see anything. We're hoping to find something that says, at this time, the Luxemburg-Casco School District will allow the town of Green Bay to use as a town hall or something like that. We're hoping that it's in minutes somewhere. And where would those be? I mean, I'd be happy to research.
Yeah.
I don't know. Otherwise, I
got
don't
another
know.
building, what?
I don't think we can just, I can't just go to the Register of Deeds and say, can you please remove
No, yeah.
Joint
yeah,
School
can't do
District
that.
number 3? So that's
Normally,
our,
we wouldn't answer you, but in this case, yes, we will.
yeah, so, well, and I will, I mean, I'll leave this with you guys, and if you wanna think about it and whatever, I could put my name and number on here, or tell me whatever I need
We're gonna have
to
to
do.
look into that, and then we're gonna have to exactly see if we
Yeah.
find the minutes, and if we, I mean, does anybody remember us having a title?
I'm
Dave?
guessing it'd be, yeah, would be
No?
minutes like from around 1976 or 1977.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we have
I
those.
moved out here in '78.
Yeah, why don't you just give me
Okay.
that?
So,
Yeah. And I will, is your number on here?
oh, no, I'm sorry, didn't write it.
Yeah.
I didn't give,
Yeah, you can put your name and number on there, and then I will take a look at it and see what I can find. And then anyway, we'll come back, once whatever we have, we'll have to come back to the board for approval to change the title when we, and if we find it.
that would be great, thank you.
Great.
That was a very unusual.
I know. But that's why we've just kind of been putting it under the rug and just keep,
Yeah.
using it, but it's gotta be taken care of. And I get it, like if there'd be a fire or something, our insurance agent said,
Wouldn't pay.
what,
Yeah.
Oh, we get the check.
Hi. Hi.
I'm Sarah Monfiles, and 8361 Bushy Road, Luxemburg, Wisconsin.
Karen Potsoff, 2761 Newbury Avenue.
And we're just here to talk about the intermediate school library position. We're obviously pretty passionate about libraries and could talk at length about the benefits and strengths of K-12 library programs, but we understand we have limited time, so we're going to try to keep it brief to history, reality, and bottom line. So the history is Luxemburg-Casco School Board and Administration has always supported libraries, library programs, and library staffing. Budgets have always supported multiple certified librarians in the district and full-time librarians in each building. This directly benefits students at LC, as strong library media programs directly impact student literacy, reading achievement, and digital competency. We have always known the benefits at Luxemburg-Casco and continue to support the district administration and board members, so thank you. The reality. We also understand a need to reevaluate how district money is spent each year, especially when someone leaves a position. We also understand that dollars are limited and that the district always has to look for ways to save money without compromising students' education. Bottom line, all current and future students at or who attend Luxemburg-Casco schools will directly be impacted by the decision to replace the full-time library position at the intermediate school. As the position is not filled, adjustments in staffing on mine and Karen's part would require us to be pulled from what we're currently doing, engaging students, teaching core and support curriculum, coaching and advising extracurricular activities, participating in leading committees, and facilitating professional development. Please consider this as you discuss how to proceed. I would also like to add that as the professional library staff in the district, we'd love to be part of conversations and future problem solving, whatever decisions are made, as we can help navigate the current landscape of how we have to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Our next meeting dates, subject to change, are April 27th and May 19th at 7 o'clock here in this room. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda. Oh, wait a minute. Yes. Why do I always forget that little one there? Board comments. I'll get this straight someday. Maybe not. Anyone have anything to add?
I'd like to thank Brandy for her years of service to the board, since this is
Yes, this is her
her last
meeting.
meeting as a
Yeah.
board member, until perhaps maybe someday in the future.
Maybe
You're
that.
welcome to go ahead and come in.
Maybe.
That's
We
happening.
have ways to re-recruit.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Dave. It's been fun,
Thank you.
challenging, but mostly rewarding, and everyone's been great to work with. It's really been just a rewarding experience. So, board members,
Thank you.
administration, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else? Okay. Now can I do consent agenda? Okay. Items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted under one mission or motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes, unless a board member requests an item to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion. I'll motion.
Okay, motion by Jonathan, second by Dave. Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Administrative reports, notice that one I never forget.
I can go first.
Sure.
I was picked to talk about CTE night, so I'll start there. We held it on March 5th. It is our second time running CTE night. We had about 300 people attend. That included parents or adults that came with the children that were present. It's about half the population that we had 2 years ago. After further reflection, we think the advertising piece maybe got dropped a little bit, and we have some ideas moving forward. If we're given the blessing to run it every year, every other year, of how to re-promote that and get more engagement. However, the families that attended, we had nothing but really positive feedback from everybody, saying how great it was, the opportunities that the kids were presented. Once again, the facilities being a major highlight, with a lot of families, especially at the primary and intermediate level, just not knowing what's offered here. So it was a great success. Huge shout out to Danielle Garceau in my building. She really kind of ran the show, along with Will Seminar and Norm Hippert. Anyone else I'm really forgetting, but those three really kind of ran it, yeah.
Three big ones, yeah.
So that's that. In my building then specifically, we're really gearing up and preparing for forward testing. That for us will start in about 2 weeks. We always take about a 2-week window to do our main testing, and then have a week window to do any makeup testing. This Friday we have our 3rd and 4th grade spring concert at 9 o'clock and 1:30. And then fingers crossed, but we're hoping to test our new security system on Monday the 30th. Panic buttons and everything now are supposed to be fully functioning. We're going to start with in-house, assuming it all goes well. This summer I'll plan to do a live drill with any first responders that are available. We ran our evacuation drill last week, and we had a new police officer come in to just observe our practices, and he's never been in our building, and he just said how eye-opening it was to him that we have such an open concept. And he's like, I don't even know how I would navigate this in a safety situation. But it was really great reflection and conversation, because obviously it just shows the importance and the need for our local police and our sheriff's department to come and really, get a feel for our district and our building, so that way they're adequately prepared to respond if there ever was an emergency. So that's all I got.
Good. Pete?
Okay. Well, back in February, after our last board meeting, we ran a reading Olympics, kind of coinciding with the Winter Olympics. So the kids in each grade level were competing against the other classrooms in their grade. For every 10 books they read, or chapters, if they were in chapter books, they would get a medal, like a gold medal, to put on the door. And the classroom with the most gold medals in each grade level then for the first place winners, they got a pizza party. Second place had like a popsicle or some kind of treat. And then the third place classrooms each got an extra recess. So that went over well. The kids were excited, and we had quite a few comments actually from parents saying how they, you know, it wasn't a chore to get their kids to actually read at night, so that was good. Another thing that happened since the last board meeting, we had our first and second grade concert on that half-day in-service day. So we had like our dress rehearsal right away in the morning at 8:15, and then had a quick reset. We loaded the gym with all the parents and grandparents and everybody, and the concert went over really well. It was, in my opinion, it was a really good concert, probably one of the better ones that I can remember, and had a lot of nice comments from parents and community people that were there. So that was good to see. We don't have forward testing we're gearing up for, but it's hard to believe that, you know, next week is April already, and it's just the slope going downhill towards the end of the year is getting steeper and steeper. It's going to be here fast, so we got lots to do before the end of the year yet. So, but it's good. Everything's going good.
Quick update, sorry, before you jump in, Todd. Pete and I met with our playground rep again. I don't even know what day of the week it is, Wednesday, so yesterday. So just an update on that. We finally have some 3D models of kind of the anticipated mock-up of our playground. So our next step is going to be presenting that essentially to any possible donors, and then we're potentially going out to.
We are on the agenda for the area Lions Club meeting, where the local Lions clubs get together all in one big group. It's going to be out at JW's, and I've been in contact with Larry Burnett, and he's the one who kind of orchestrated this and got us on their agenda and invited us out there, and he thinks that we can do, you know, we can hopefully get some partnerships and that sort of thing. So he's excited about it, and, you know, so are we. So we're going to go out there and give our best pitch and see what happens. So, yeah.
Sorry, Todd, thanks.
That's
Just
okay.
came to my mind.
Quite all right. I have a few things to update you on. The first one, it would be the bleachers, and Linda has a set of pictures there that she can send around. You know, while there was snow flying and a variety of other things, when the custodians could eventually get into the building, they tore out the bleachers, the lower set of bleachers in the middle school, and they needed to get that done in advance of the other things. So the pictures there show a before and after, and then some other detailed information, if you will, some measurements, things like that about what it's going to look like. Generally speaking, when you look at the one picture, like where they're gone, that whole bit of concrete in the balcony is getting cut out. And so it's about, he has the measurements on there, but you can kind of see it. It's about 3 feet back, pretty close to that, and the whole stretch of the length of the bleachers. And then they'll replace the rail, that sort of thing, and then the bleachers will be ready for install. They're going to come and do that as soon as they can once the students are out of the building. That work had to be done when the students were out of the building. And the metal was given to the metal shop, and the wood, Don reclaimed some of it for what he wants to do for some repairs for the uppers, because the uppers are going to stay the way they are. And then the other wood was donated to the tech program for whatever they're going to use it for. But that concrete cut is going to be a little bit loud and a little bit noisy. So as soon as they can get in there, they'll be in there. And that's in advance of the install, which is still scheduled for June 15th. So it's the one thing had to happen before the next, has to happen before the next. So that's the update as best I can give it. The last picture there is an AI-generated image of the original. And now it's not, we're not replacing the top, but that AI-generated, yeah,
Wow.
that image just, it was easier to just say we're not doing the top than it was to redo the picture and the things. So, but you know, we're pretty excited about it.
That last picture looks very good.
Mhm.
We are also preparing for the Ford exam. We did training for students. We do hours over 3 weeks, which is going to start next week. So starting next week for 3 consecutive weeks, we'll be doing the Ford exam at the middle school. That's ELA and math for 7th grade. That's ELA, math, science, social studies for 8th grade. Scheduling. I meet with the current 7th graders, next year's 8th graders, tomorrow to start the scheduling process. I go over to the intermediate school to meet with the current 6th grade next Thursday. And I have to schedule my appointment to go over to St. Mary's to meet with, I think we're expecting 5 from there, was the number I was given. So I have to schedule that yet. I think Tyson might mention the art show. Within the window of the art show, middle school musical will be the weekend of April 17th, that weekend. And by the time we meet again, we will already have started spring practices, whereas the high school has started their spring practices for the middle school, weather permitting. Our first day will be April 6th, for golf and for track.
We might get an event in by April 6th. Might be a big one.
Weather permitting.
Yeah, so Todd mentioned art show a little bit. So art show is coming up April 11th through the 19th. There's a lot of great artwork I know that's in there every single year, so that'll be kind of in that main hallway between the high school and middle school leading to the auditorium. We are also in the heart of testing season. We had ACT testing 2 weeks ago. We had fantastic attendance for it. So we had tested on Tuesday, March 10th. Out of our 166 11th graders, only 4 were missing. So we had really, really good attendance for that. I was able to get the 4 to make it up yesterday. So ACT is done and put to bed, which is always a big one to get through. We have pre-ACT coming up on April 15th. So that's for all of our 9th and 10th grade students. Pre-ACT just kind of gives you an understand or an identifier of where you will be or could be on the ACT for the following year. So it's kind of a good practice and lead up for students. And with that pre-ACT day, we are also doing a career fair on that day as well. So myself, our 2 counselors, Jolyn Helgeson and Mike, for I think back since September, we've kind of been working on this. In the morning, when the 9th and 10th graders are testing, for the 11th and 12th graders, they're going to be coming in the morning, and we're going to have a traditional career fair set up in the gym. I think right now we have 33 or 34 employers that are going to be attending for that one. And then in the afternoon, when the 9th and 10th graders are done testing, all those employers are going to go into classrooms. And students are going to sign up for 5 different rotations of the employers that they want to see during that time. So we're excited about that to just bring some of the community employers here and things like that for our students to see and to hear from as well. This morning, we had a meeting with NWTC, a yearly meeting, and they shared with us that last year academic school year, our students took 1,441 credits through NWTC last year, saving our students $246,483, which is a tremendous amount of credits and money. They said we are one of the top schools in the state for the amount of work we do with them. Earlier this year, I had got a similar report from UWGB that we had taken 1,001 credits through them last year, saving our students $606,734. So if you take GB and TC and you combine that, last year our students took 2,442 credits and saved themselves over $852,000, which is a pretty tremendous amount of money and credits that our students are taking. It just amazes me the amount of classes and credits that our students are taking that not only is saving themselves money, it's shortening the time that they're in school, and it's really setting them up for kind of that future and things like that, getting out of school earlier to start making a living and not having a ton of student loan debt, which is huge for our students. So that was, when you put those 2 numbers together, that's pretty eye-opening that it's that amount of credits and that amount of money it's saving our students.
year. We had CISA 7 in for the last time this year to focus on co-planning. Jessica was in and spent the day at the high school working with several teams, and that's been great. We were actually highlighted in the CISA 7 newsletter for the work that we've done with them around co-planning this year. A couple other things with our counselors meeting, I brought in a representative from the new walking clinic to kind of share with our counselors an update about that new walking clinic and how they can support our students and kind of the services they provide, which was really helpful. And then Katie, our school psychologist, also shared she had been updated on the new adolescent center by Amplify, which is that brand new kind of colorful building when you see it when you go over the 172 bridge, and shared kind of the resources there. So it was really nice to for our counselors to just be updated on some of those community resources. So we continue to kind of expand and be aware of what's out in the community. Another thing I was gonna mention, just to bring to your awareness, there is a vaccination clinic that will be occurring from Kewaunee County, and we are gonna be advertising that. We have to collect every year and make sure that our students are updated on their vaccines or that they've signed a waiver. So it's one or the other, and we're supposed to be at 99% compliancy. Our compliancy last year was a little bit down, partly because there were new vaccines required for different age groups. So that's something that we're monitoring, so we will be pushing out some advertisements about that. It obviously is the family's choice whether or not they want to be vaccinated, but they also have that option to fill out the waiver. So we're just kind of trying to get the word out there that we need one or the other. Either we need to choose to be updated, or you need to just fill out this waiver for us so that we have that on file, so that we're hitting the compliance according to that state law. We're supposed to be at 99% and we're just below that. So trying to kind of just pay attention to those numbers and make sure that we're in compliance. So it was just something I put on your radar in case you see information about that popping up.
Would any of you like to join the Reverse Career Fair? It is during the school day on April 15th. Just checking, we're inviting businesses, there'll be 30 students participating, it'll actually happen in here. And they actually the Reverse Career Fair is, they're the topic, and they have to present on themselves and give a 3 to 4 minute elevator pitch. So we went in couple weeks ago and presented how to do that, and so the next step is we're gonna actually go in. Joellen doesn't know this yet, but she's gonna be one of my hosts and come in and listen to the kids present theirs so they can practice it before we actually get to that day. So I talked to a student, I said, what else do we need to do to see you feel comfortable? So they've done a lot of activities behind the scenes to really dive into themselves and figure out, how can I communicate more effectively? How can I be different? And the last one is you also get to have lunch with one of them, and then it's really about the business side of it, of having conversations back and forth with them. And so, and I'm making lunch as well, so we're gonna have pork tenderloin smoked if you would like to come, so.
You come for that bird.
You can, I'll save you some. You're not invited.
Don't ask for money after you're done.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew where she was gonna dig me right where it mattered. Really cool, today at CISA 7 for Youth Apprenticeship, they presented on the state of youth apprenticeship, and they had 2,005 kids placed in CISA 7 and youth apprenticeship, and 4 years ago, before we switched that partnership, we were at 400. And just how it's really transforming. CISA 7 is 1/6 of the state of youth apprenticeship. And so, which leads us into, Tom Tiffany is going to stop and take a tour of our school, starting in the diesel program, and I don't know, Tuesday or Thursday? Tuesday. And then I met Render, Tony Weed's office, contacted us about hosting an event in here in October. And so they're going to start putting that together to come in, and they're just very impressed with all the options that kids have and what is really happening. And so what we're trying to do is, this is partially, how can you support us with funding and do that? That's really the question, Joellen and we have a lot of cool stuff. We're trying to do a lot of cool things. And how can we maintain this? Well, I can't say that, but I would like, I can, but anyway, so some exciting things. There's lots more going on. All this, the hydroponic stuff is in, so I've been working on that with my buddy Caden. He is awesome to work with. Got to write him a letter of recommendation, and just his problem solving, the way he thinks outside the box, and just working with him is amazing. So that's the part that we're really trying to get to with students, is that growth when they're in youth apprenticeship, and you can see them stepping out of their comfort zone and really maturing as people before they leave high school. That's what's setting our kids up ahead of everybody else. So,
He did a fantastic job presenting to the board.
yes, yeah, and I shared that with him too as well. So I'm very thankful to have the opportunity to work with them. So.
I've been slowly getting away from Julia, the new bookkeeper. Training's going actually very well with her. So very impressed with somebody just coming out of college. She's catching on really quickly. And I've been working on actually RFPs, so fuel bids went out today. And for April, I will have disposal bids. I know we haven't done that one in a while. And now that the village, I know, just changed theirs, I was like, we probably just need to see again out there, are we still getting the lowest? So I'll run those
We are
bids out.
too.
Okay.
May 1st, we have.
Okay. And I have to push it into April, so I'll have them out this week, because you have to have a 60-day notice with GFL, or else they automatically renew. So, and then snow removal will go out too in a couple weeks. And then next week, I know I'll be talking with Joellen, we'll be starting looking at wages and next year's budget, and start working with you guys on that, so.
Yeah, I have been getting, for some reason, a lot of open records requests, which are just, anybody can make an open records request. We just had something from a company in Missouri that wants to know all about any professional development contracts we had with outside vendors for the last 3 years. So of course, we don't file them like that. So we're trying to, okay, what did we do, who are we working with, who did we bring in? And then we have to individually go and find those contracts, and then they want the POs to go with them. So it's just a lot of, and it's nothing, it's just to put it all into a PDF and send it to them. But it can be incredibly time consuming, and usually get these in right after school ends for some reason. They all come in. So it's really odd that I've been getting so many the last couple of weeks. We've been working on insurance, we'll talk about that later. Farmer Mike has been working on the hydroponics a lot, so just a shout out for him, because he came into work on Monday, and he had all these boxes strapped to the back of his pickup truck, because he had been out picking up pieces for the hydroponics plant, and then taking them out to where they need to be delivered. So, Mike is going above and beyond, and really working with Katie to make sure that this project is successful. So a lot of work going into that. I was able to sit on a Shark Tank interview with some kids with Tracy Remschneider's class. And so the kids had to come up with an innovative project, and they had parameters, and then they had to make a presentation. And Tyson was there, Mike was there, I was there, and Scott Carr was there. And then we gave them feedback, and so it's just they did good for high school kids, but, we were talking about, okay, how do you elevate this? What should you really be looking at? How could you have improved it? And so the kids did really good. I think that they, some of them, took the feedback really well, and some of them were a little bit, kind of well, that's not what we meant. Well, then then Tracy's having a conversation with them. Okay, well, then that's what you need to know this, and so, hitting them both ways. And so, but it was a neat experience, and the kids did really well, and it was a lot of fun. Been working with Rebecca, again, looking at compensation in different areas, and so putting together, we had a lot of just side conversations about, looking at with what we have so far, and so far what we've seen was that we are pretty comparable, in the area, and we're kind of branching out a little bit more with that. We're still trying to get some more information, so we'll have some recommendations for the HR committee as we go through that, but we might be looking at things maybe a little bit differently than we have in the past. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing is that, we were going to set a date for an HR committee meeting, but then we need to do finance, because
we're, you know, we're looking at next year's budget, and so we're gonna have to talk about that a little bit. Okay. Spartan Sprouts highlight.
So I'm gonna invite Katie and Jesse up to help kind of explain. I'll come up, I can invite you guys all together. So I mentioned at the last board meeting that we were gonna be putting out a survey to just gauge interest, and the early childhood team was very excited as soon as we got the results back from that survey that there was interest, and worked pretty quickly and pulled together a plan. So today we just kind of wanna walk through that proposal. We're gonna propose doing a pilot program for next school year. I'm gonna ask you to vote in April, but we wanted to give time to really explain it, see what questions you have, and be able to bring back any information that you may be interested in looking. So today is just to kind of walk through that. This kind of came about because we've, as you know, we service once children turn 3, if they're identified with a disability, we do provide services for our 3-year-olds, but we obviously don't provide services for all 3-year-olds. So that results in our early childhood team pretty much going into the homes and providing services, which works for a lot of families, but is not always ideal for all family situations and for all students. So for example, if the students really have needs in that social area, it's really hard to have a special ed teacher go into the house and work on social skills when there aren't same age peers around to interact with. And unfortunately in our community, we don't have a ton of other options available to work with students. For example, we don't have a library right here, we don't have Head Start, things like that. So this was kind of, came out of that idea as providing another possible natural environment for us to be able to provide services for students. It would be a community program, so it would be open to all students. So most students in the program would not have a disability, but we would hold specific spots so that we have that opportunity for them to be with their same age peers and provide services. So that's kind of how this came about. Some other possible benefits. We do think it might be a nice selling point to some staff because there is a part where our thought would be to open up and have priority registration for staff, so that might be a nice selling point. Just providing those other opportunities. We do think it could also be a nice opportunity for some of our high school students, possibly partnering with our child development class, and also potentially having youth apprenticeship positions to help support the program as well. Our goal would be for it to be no cost to the district, so it would be self-funding through Fund 80, where it would be tuition in order for families to have their children attend and get the care. They would pay a monthly tuition, which would offset the cost of the adults that we would need to run the program. So that being said, we'll kind of talk a little bit about the logistics and try and kind of explain to you what we're envisioning. To me, that visual is really helpful because it is a little hard to wrap your head around. So, and I'm going to let you two kind of take the lead on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that logistics and looking at that, that nice little visual there, what we would look at is 2 sections where we would look at that 4K extended. Again, like looking at that, we're really looking for it to be complementary of our 4K program. We're not looking to replace, we're not looking to extend, just having that complementary space for those 4K students in those opposing positions. And then what we had proposed, and it's open to kind of adjusting if needed, was 2 sections of AM and 2 sections of PM EC programming kind of factored in there. So those groups would be together, 4s and 3s. Really structured, play-based, and just kind of building on those early skills and those early opportunities that some of our families don't have opportunities to. So, yeah, do you want to speak a little bit to what that
Yeah, absolutely. So this, we kind of came up with an ideal situation of what a 3-year-old, 4-year-old classroom would look like in a developmentally appropriate and play-based environment. So a lot of like little bit of story time, not a lot of curriculum focus, more that play-based, developmentally appropriate because they're 3, they're little people. And just getting that socialization with others, a lot of gross motor movements, outside time, like moving their bodies like 3-year-olds do. So a lot of that throughout the day, art, sensory exploration, just playing.
We're doing that.
Yep.
learning and it's social support.
Yep, yep, absolutely. And then we completed that survey that Jane had talked about, and we only sent it out to district staff and people who attend our 3 and 4-year-old play group that we put on, that we developed to try to help the problem that Jane was talking about, of just not having a whole lot of community resources for our little people to interact with other little people. And we had a strong, I would say a strong response for how many people we sent it to. So it's a subset of families, not all families that have age-eligible children, just the ones that can come to our programming that we've already created. So we had 73 completed surveys. You can see the results there. And it's kind of broken out by how many families are kind of age eligible for that 3K early learning, as well as that 4K extended learning programming. So based on that survey, like for next year, there were 40 families that expressed interest of wanting to be in a program like what we kind of had proposed. And then it kind of breaks it out by year from there. Obviously it gets less because those people are still tiny humans right now, and they don't necessarily come to our play groups and things like that. We didn't have access to give them that survey, so they didn't really get a chance to fill it out.
Logistics location, what we're looking at is there is currently a classroom down the 4K hallway that currently houses Jessie in her early childhood, as well as one of our 4K special education teachers, and so that space is available to flex. It is a space that is meant for tiny people. It has tiny bathrooms and tiny sinks and those sorts of things that we need, and those resources are sitting at the ready. The classroom is set up.
It's set up like a classroom that would be sufficient for a 4-year-old.
Yep, and again, that classroom is one that we use when we do those monthly playgroups. So, yep, some of just those other pieces in regards to logistics. We're talking about tiny people and those sorts of things. We're not looking to transport. We're not asking to do that or wanting to do those transportation for most of those students. It would operate kind of on its own entity, so we're not adding to Pete's workload, right? And it would be overseen by student services as well as myself, kind of with some of those logistical pieces. And really what we're looking at in terms of that pilot is that registration would drive our viability. So as Jane had mentioned, we're hoping for this to be self-sufficient and self-funded. If it were to be a situation where we would put out registration, we would let families know this registration and running this program is contingent on having enough for us to be able to run that and be successful and not have a deficit for the district.
So as far as kind of the cost of families, and I know that means in terms of revenue, part of that survey we did ask if people were sharing currently what they're paying for childcare. It was a very wide range, anywhere from $3 to $11 an hour. I kind of looked at a monthly cost, and there's several programs, so this is a pretty reasonable when I compare to other programs in the area. For that 3K, which would be 2 days a week, it would be a monthly cost of $160. My plan is to just do it for those 9 months. I just have to be a blended monthly fee rather than do individual days. It's going to get really messy, so it's just going to be a blanket. This is what it is per month. So you would know upfront that you're looking at that extended learning with 8 students for 4 days. Costs are outlined there, and then we would be able to run 13 slots and have 13 students potentially on Fridays. So that would be an annual cost to the students who are there for that. So if they were attending 4K in the morning, they extended learning in the afternoon, and then they would have the opportunity to attend pay attention to the overhead cost as far as having the adults. That's why we have the Friday and the day 16. So then you can kind of see what that revenue would be there. If we did on the next page, on the whole, that have maybe possibly some apprenticeships. If we did that, we could potentially up that number on Friday, and have more than 13 students, which would allow us to know, that would be more revenue, on that route. So the instructional leader for this would not be a PPI license. We don't need somebody with a license to do it. It's kind of its own little entity and a daycare. So thinking about what we pay for right now, our curriculum rate and summer school teachers, I felt was appropriate. It's at 16, so we did that 40 hours. And then we were looking at about 36 weeks. So you can see what that would be for that instructional leader who would have benefits. We do anticipate benefits increasing for next year, so it will be a little bit higher than that. And then we would have two different options. We could either hire an instructional assistant, and keep them just under 30 hours a week so that we're not looking at benefits for that person, or we could go the route of looking at having two apprenticeship positions, fill that second adult, in the classroom. So because it is at daycare setting, I just feel that we could fill that role. Either an AM, PM person or a AD person. So then the total cost you can see there, would be about 94,000 without that increase. So that increase is probably just 78. So the revenue, if we have at least 28 spots filled, would be enough to cover the costs. So that's would be kind of what we come back and do next report. We're interested just to kind of get your thoughts or answer any questions that you may have. I feel like that's a lot of information to kind of go through and hopefully just clearly laid out.
I think we kind of, was that 2 or 3 years ago, we like talked about this at one meeting for 15 minutes?
No, because I did like a lot of research and talked to all the area daycares, and no, that took me a long time.
But no, I remember bringing it up, I remember talking about it at a board meeting, then I don't remember, oh, maybe Bob did. I remember how that all went.
But that's not what this is, because Jane and I had lots of conversations about this whole topic. And we had that whole conversation about all-day 4K, which is what Bob and Travis had wanted.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough space. We don't want to undercut our existing businesses, because the 4K is where they make money to be able to do the infant care. They also do all the summer care that we don't do. This would not be that. So this is just, it runs 7:15 to 3:15. There is no before school care, there is no after school care. It is not even necessarily all, 5 days a week. So it's meant more for, as Jane said, sometimes we have kids that if they're home alone with parents and they have special education needs and they don't have any other little people to socialize with, they can't grow those socialization skills that they really should be doing at that age level. So they start falling even further behind, even though we're giving services. So this is a way to take them and to 2 days a week, put them with same age peers and have them, get their special ed services and get socialization in a structured environment. And so it'll alternate whether or not they're in the morning class, afternoon class. You can think of it about it as like if they have home daycare and grandma and grandpa are watching them. This is someplace that, if the kid has special education needs or qualify for the program, that they would come in, they would 2 days a week at that grandparents would get a respite.
4K, so we're jumping into 4K, you kind of get used to going in the building, but it's only 2 days a week for a shorter time period.
Right.
It's kind of ease into 4K.
Right. And then for the 4Kers, it's kind of that same thing. It would be if they have, like the morning 4K, they would just stay in the afternoon. And again, so now we have similar age peers, so they would stay. But that would be very limiting too. Like, when my kids were that age, I needed care for the entire time and I was working, plus some to come and get them and things. And that is not what we're offering. We're like, it's 7:15 to 3:15. And that is, you gotta come and get your kids at that time. We're not doing before school care, we're not doing after school care. So the thought is too, this would be, when we talk about retention and benefits benefits for our staff. That if we have staff that have children that are in 4K, they would have priority in part of this program, and then they would be dropping their kids off when they come to school, picking them up right after school ends. There's none of that before and after school care. This is also paid for by the parents. So it wouldn't be a cost to the district. We don't have to worry about collecting FTEs and, you know, how we're gonna do that in our revenue formula. This is completely an enterprise outside of our revenue formula, with the idea that it's gonna be completely self-supporting by what the parents are gonna pay. However, we're reserving some spots for the 30-year-olds that need the special, to get the special ed services, but then that's gonna be offset by, you know, the parents' costing, and Jane has some grant money that she could use to offset the cost of those particular things.
What happens if, our enrollment, like say, if you're projected at 40, say 25 12, then are we increasing rates, or we're just gonna?
So our thought is for this pilot is we will not post the teaching position until we send out registration. We'll send out that registration, letting them know this will be pending on having enough families register. So we would not run it if we don't get it at least at 28, because I don't want to be putting us in a situation where we don't have any money to offset that cost.
After that, my own
Right.
concern is coming in the referendum, put in the program. Even if it doesn't cost us anything, our people, if they have enough perception, it's a whole new concern.
Well, I think
Yeah.
this is a way that we are extending services to kids that need it, and providing some relief to the community without it costing the district any. So it says, oh, you're adding these programs, but I mean, it's good, there's going to have to be some, you know, information sent out about, you know, what this program is, what it really is, that it's not costing the district anything, except for, you know, we have this, and we have one classroom that this is, you know, available in the primary school, and this is the one classroom, so, I mean, the program's not gonna expand beyond that one classroom, we just don't have room. But it's something to fill a need that our early childhood educators have identified as something that we are really lacking, that we can do better for these kids if we have something like this.
I'd say the community is pretty, interested in our early learning programming. We consistently have about 40 3- and 4-year-olds that come to our monthly play groups every single month.
Yeah, which is on a Friday morning.
And this would be a pilot, so, you know, we'll give it a shot, you know.
What happens if it's a big hit with the pilot, and the next year it's still a big hit, and in year 3 it drops, and the enrollment is 17 or 20? You just tell those 17 kids, sorry, it's a no-go, and the teacher that was hired is let go.
Well, it's not a teacher, so it would be a yearly contract for the staff, so it would be a yearly contract, and then I would anticipate if we have it running, we feel like it's successful, we should know that registration relatively early, so that we have an idea well in advance of that this year of whether or not we're getting enough players, so I feel like we can be able to time it out, so we have an idea if we're gonna have the space is filled, and then the time to make adjustments.
So you did say you reached out to both providers?
When we had originally talked about all-day 4K and expanding that, yes, we have.
And did they respond?
Well, again, you don't want to compete with them when we're talking about all-day 4K, because, you know, again, they can have a higher teacher-to-student ratio, so that is where they make their money, because when you talk about infants, it's only like one adult per 2 kids, and they lose money. So having summer programs before school, after school, and 4K, you know, is what keeps their businesses afloat, and we don't want to disrupt those businesses, you know, we want to support our business partners. And so that's why we're not, you know, and again, for us, we would lose, I think it was almost $500,000, because 4K gets reimbursed at 0.6. And so regular, like a first grader is reimbursed, or for FTE count, it's a full 1. So what happens is when we have morning daycare, 4K in afternoon, 4K, we get 0.6 and 0.6, so we get 1.2 FTE. And I think the legislator did it that way because at that time, it was half-day 4Ks. And so you got a little extra because of all the consumables that 4Ks go through. Well, then, everybody wanted all-day 4K. And so there's a lot of districts that are running all-day 4K, but they're only counting the students as a 0.6 on their student count. So they're losing money. And we're in a position where we didn't want to lose that extra money and the idea that we don't have the space. Because we would need, I think it was 4 extra classrooms. And we didn't.
You need to double the number of classrooms.
Yeah, and we don't have it, we would have to have built in order to be able to do that.
And the number of teachers.
Yeah. And we didn't want to compete with the parochial schools.
And Brady, before I send out the survey, I did email all the parochial schools and both daycares, because I did not want them to be like, what's happening, what are you doing, or having this perception that you're trying to do that, so I did email them all. I did get back from one of the daycares asking to meet with me, I said I'd be happy to. They said, let's wait till March, 2 weeks ago, I emailed them, and I didn't hear anything again, so I didn't really get much of a response. So waiting.
There's currently wait lists.
We're working with several areas where families are reporting being on wait lists. That's one of the daycares, so that was another thing that kind of
Any other questions?
pushed.
Thank you.
Feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Open positions, middle school music and intermediate school music. So, the board has charged the administrative team at every time that there's an opening to really look at that opening and, see about, does it need to be replaced? Does it, can it be modified? Do we, and a lot of that is in terms of budget situation, but also maintaining our programming. And usually, especially when it's a teacher position, it's kind of like, no, we have a classroom full of kids, we need to hire the teacher. So, when that happens, it's usually just an automatic, where we look at it, but it's very obvious that, we need to replace the position. We had, since the referendum, we had one position one time where, we did have an opportunity to reduce, and the board decided not to in that position. So as the administrative team was talking, we're like, well, we have 2 positions now this year due to retirements that, that we have a possibility of not automatically hiring. There's some other things that we could do. And then as the conversations went on and different ideas were being put back and forth about how we could work with these positions, it became obvious that we really kind of want more of, with a referendum coming up soon, we're going to have to go to another one. The idea that, we had, in the last referendum, we needed to make, we had 18 positions that we were going to cut, but, with the referendum, we were able to keep them all. And so, at that time, the board had felt that, well, we had the referendum money to keep those positions, so we wanted to keep them. Now coming up into another referendum year, is the philosophy still the same, or is the philosophy, we need to show the district, or show the community that we're being as fiscally responsible as possible and looking at positions. So, what we wanted to do is just get some more information from the board before we go any further. So we've already had some conversations, in these areas. So, for the music, okay, we had a couple different options. And so what we put in your board packets were the pros and cons. So option A is to fill the position. So we can do that. We would maintain our current course offerings. If there's any future room for absorb, because there is some wiggle room within those teachers' schedules, we would be able to absorb any future growth. And from the board, it would signal support for the fine arts programs. The downside of filling the position is it's a missed opportunity to size staff into the current needs. And there could be a perceived lack of fiscal responsibility in what is the upcoming referendum. The other option is not fill the position. The pro would be then we do have that savings in Fund 10 for salary and benefits.
an opportunity to restructure current programming to fully utilize current staff time. What the cons would be is a potential loss of fifth grade band. All fifth grade students currently, or would take general music instead of band, and students would start band in sixth grade, and this is very common in districts. A lot of districts have gone to this model. There is a potential loss of band support for private schools. Usually there's a few students at one of the schools that are one of our band teacher goes there, does lessons, and then comes back. There's questions about the efficiency of that, but then there is that potential loss of that band support for private schools. Coordinating music instruction between the buildings, and again, a perceived lack of support for fine arts programs. Some considerations that have been brought up too is that in supplemental, if the position is chosen not to be filled, is that we have UWGB students. We could work with UWGB, see if we could get students to provide the band and choir lessons. And reviewing and evaluating every position for possible reductions is our motivation for this. So I guess we're just looking for this middle school band position, what are your thoughts on this to help give us a little bit more direction to move forward?
Sure.
Yeah.
And if you were to say, if you say no, just fill the position, that's completely fine. If you ask us to move forward, we would come with a plan, because we would plan to meet with the teachers to say, how can this actually work? Just so you guys have the next steps, you can kind of see the big picture, regardless either way.
I have a question. So let's say if the position is not filled and the numbers grow, at what point, like if it's not filled, what's going to be the future opportunity to bring it back?
Well, if you cut a position and then you bring it back, now you're increasing the budget footprint again, so any savings that you have, you're now nullifying. When looking at the teachers' schedules, there's a couple of different ways we could make this work with our existing staff, utilizing their time more efficiently.
How many local schools have a grade band?
Well, so I did an audit of, I don't know, was it 9 or 10 schools on there? Denmark, a number of other schools. Wapaka was the only other school. It's hard because we're kind of in that 2,000 range and everybody else is kind of declining, and they're at the 1,500 to 1,700. Has 5 staff members typically, and we have 6, and Wapaka offers 5th grade band because they have an intermediate school, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, I believe. I tried researching on there without calling anyone. The other school district that has 2 and 6 people is O'Connell Falls, and so I know their superintendent up there, so I actually just called them because I was just curious how they did it. They actually have their choir teachers or their music teachers provide reading interventions or math interventions during that time, which really isn't what you would really want to do with them for that time. So they're technically not full-time people towards those positions. So that's the information that I have. I'm not saying, yes, it's good. It really comes down to, do you want to be a district that wants band to start in 5th grade, or do you want it to start in 6th grade? It's really kind of the hinge pins.
Well, how many, yeah. How many 5th graders would it affect?
There's usually about 80
I think that's about 80.
70.
Sorry, we had the numbers, I don't know where the doc is.
There's about 80, 70 to 80. There's about 150 students, grades 5 and 6, if my memory serves me right.
So that's about 50% of students in each grade.
40.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it really,
Right, 40,
and here's what's unique though, because they don't really have choices in intermediate school, where when you go to middle school, you can pick choir, you can pick band, you can pick tech ed, you can pick art, you can pick And so Spanish, and there's one other one, in there, FACS. And so students actually have more options to choose in those options as well.
I did find Stacy's number. So 5th grade currently has 88 and 6th grade currently has 70 this year.
And what's the total student population for each of those grades?
1 second.
While she's looking that up, can we clarify for them also, Mike? K-6, there's a requirement to provide music education. 7-12, there's a requirement to offer music education to include instrumental and vocal. So it can be generalized, K-6, but it has to include the instrumental choral component once you are offering 7-12. I have that right, yes?
Mhm.
Yep, yes.
The kids still would get, in 5th grade, they would get a general music class.
Right.
They already currently have that.
Yes.
So this is just an add-on class currently. Both 5th and 6th grade, it wouldn't impact our music programming. It's basically like an extra opportunity that they're provided. 5th grade has 152 students.
So that's more than 50% of the students.
So that's
in 5th grade.
57% roughly. And then 6th grade has 150 students.
And you said there were how many band students in 6th grade?
70 in 6th grade.
So that's 140, and what did you say the population was?
150 in 6th grade.
300 roughly.
Total
Yeah.
300, yeah, between the two grade
About
levels.
50%.
So 50% is more accurate than 40.
Yep.
At the middle school level, I think that middle school band and choir is your feeder program for the high school. And if you take that away, the high school numbers will continue to decline.
How are the middle school numbers?
I have them reviewed.
Yeah, I have it up right now. So currently, there are 45 in 7th grade band. That's out of 142 or something, so 45 out of about 140. There are 32 in 8th grade. That's out of 160. There are currently 21 in 7th grade choir, boys and girls, and there are 34 in 8th grade choir.
At the middle school level, when we talked about all your options, when you're able to select band, choir, tech ed, art, FACS, Spanish, how many electives is a student allowed to pick?
For each, it's under 2. Like we start to use credit language. So generally speaking, a class that meets every day all year is worth 1. Something that's every other day all year is 0.5, and every other day, okay. They are at about 1.75. So when you figure what we do require them to take, so ELA, math, science, social studies, PE, we require them to take computers as 7th graders, and we require them to take the intro to word processing and personal finance as 8th graders. The other things, what remains is 1.75 essentially.
And then the 1.75, what does band count as, a 0.5?
Yep,
or
so
a 1?
for 7th grade, this is the way we have offered it. So whether we fill the position or not, that would potentially, we could have a conversation about it. But the way it's currently offered, 7th grade band is every other day all year. There are 2 sections of that, they're split into 2. Every other day all year, so it's a 0.5. Choir is the same. 8th grade choir is the same. 8th grade band meets every day, so that becomes a 1.5. So it's either a 0.5 or a 1.0, excuse me. Now, we do have occasions where if there is a student who, between what they need and they want, so occasionally in working with the high school and whatnot, if we have a student who has a specialty schedule of their advanced language arts, their advanced math, and they have to take a course at the high school or algebra or whatever it might be, and they want to do Spanish and they want to, long story short, we occasionally have 8th graders do every other day of band because that's the only way we can get them band. We can't get them a full 1.0.
How many students did you say in 7th grade take band?
45.
So that's about 22 on day A and 22 on B.
Ish, yeah. Yes.
And so, and when we talk about the band program, kids can still start band in 6th grade. We still have band in 7th grade. We still have band in 8th grade to feed up into the high school with our existing staff. The one thing that would be, if we didn't fill the position, the one thing that we would potentially lose is the 5th grade band.
Now, are there studies that would show a decrease in the quality by the time you reach the high school level because you now have one less year under your belt? You know, so you get into the high school level and they expect you to be performing at, say, Class B type music. Well, you've only been playing now since 6th grade. You have one whole year less of learning and preparation.
I don't think that there's been a study on that, but again, if the majority of schools started in 6th grade and we're starting in 5th, we're a little bit of an anomaly.
I wonder if your,
What?
I just wonder if your numbers would be higher in 6th grade if you didn't have 5th grade, right? Because now they're going out in 5th grade because it's something they want to try. Well, now they just gotta wait a year and try it in 6th grade, because they're falling off come middle school. Big chunks, now they have more choices, I understand that.
But still.
I think the whole going from being a 0.5 credit in 7th grade to being a whole credit in 8th grade is a big factor, because also if you want to be Spanish, you have to have half a credit of Spanish in 7th and 8th grade in order to get your advanced placement when you get to high school. So I think we're limiting, anybody who chooses band is now limited on anything else. And you didn't mention, but study hall is factored in that choice as well. So if you want a study hall, that now eats up part of your 1.5 that you get to pick.
That's correct.
And we were willing to, so this whole change happened a long time ago when I was middle school principal with Spanish, when Spanish rolled up through. So when we had that conversation, I said, do you want it to be a half a day? Do you want it to be, and that was the choice of the instructor at that time. We have actually had conversation with the instructors, even if we added a position, we could also still consider, do we want it to be a 0.5 band class as well? So back to your point of having kids have to pick, that makes it more challenging. Do you understand what that makes sense?
No,
what
you lost me.
So instead of having it as a 1 credit in 8th grade, we could move it to half a credit. Like that's what, we're still going to meet with that group of people depending on kind of what little bit direction you give us. And it may come out that that would be an option to be able to do, so kids don't have to select either Spanish or band. But as Todd had said, 'cause I help him with the master schedule, every kid that wants band gets band. Every kid that wants Spanish gets Spanish. There's usually about 4 or 5 kids out of 300 that we have to call up and say, you wanted this art class, but sculptures is available. Are you okay with taking that? So we would try really, really hard. We're in the high school, they have too many onesies, like AP this, AP that. It's hard to get their schedules, but typically a kid wants it. We make sure to do that, so we understand that's important to them at this point in time.
Did you contact Wrightstown?
Yes. They have what do you want to know?
Are they the school that just dropped 5th grade?
I am not, I did not contact them. I went through, they only have 3 staff there total when I went through their, and they do it unique because I knew the middle school principal there and they were really cutting down on staffing for that, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And
Because I think that came up in a discussion at breakfast, that we were tossing things around and that Wrightstown was dropping 5th grade.
which would probably be why they're down to 3 staff members for band and choir.
Because that, and I think that also came up at, in some discussions at the convention too, about schools dropping.
Yes. And then in high school, our youth apprenticeship, because kids now have more options once again, or they want to be in UWGB programming, or they want to be in college classes or whatever. It just makes it harder. We still try to make it work, so they can do it, but
There's really only one spot, like where band and choir is right now is really the only place, from my understanding, according to the schedule. Because if you made a skinny anywhere else, you, at the end of the day, like block 4 or block 8, depending on your
Yep.
AV day, those are your students who are leaving for YA.
Yep.
Right? So if you choose to do YA, then you're choosing not to do band, because that's the spot it is, right? If you make two skinny opportunities out of period 1, well, now you're eliminating anybody who wanted a late start, or your diesel program kids, your automotive kids.
Yep.
You know, so where it's so limited because of all the other opportunities, that's it. So I mean, when we say we have all these great choices for kids, we do, but yet if this is your choice, you're so limited. Like if you choose this, here's your limit, and that's it.
And I think that sometimes, I think that, you know, as much as we try to work with kids and try to, you know, figure out something that works for them, sometimes there is that kind of like, you wanna do this and you wanna do this, and it just, you can't do both. You know, and I think I think sometimes that's a reality. It's just that you can't always do everything you want based on that, because we're trying to serve 650 kids with one schedule, you know, and in a high school schedule, usually band and choir are the tail that wags the dogs, because you need to have a large group of students, more than a typical classroom, blocked out in a specific time. And then what happens is that instructor then, so, you know, once you do band, once you do choir, it's kind of like as Mike said, that in Okata Falls, they have them do interventions. You know, we have them doing lessons.
And at the elementary level, they're actually taking the kids a second time during our intervention time. So the classroom teacher is freed up to provide interventions. We actually do the exact opposite. So then we have 3 reading specialists and 6 teachers and 1 math person. So you actually have 10 teachers working with kids, and the other staff take the vast majority of the students.
Yeah, so, I mean, scheduling is not easy, it is not simple, and as much, you know, we try, and I think that as much time and effort that the counselors and Mike and Tyson put into that schedule, it is amazing how many kids get into the classes that they want. And there is just a handful that sometimes have to make a choice.
If I may, and even though that part of the conversation was mostly about high school, I mean, the reality is we share a space. So what happens with the high school schedule definitely impacts the middle school schedule, because that's when the band room is available, or that's when the choir room is available. So there is that ripple effect. In addition to that, if we're in a position of sharing staff across buildings, whether it's middle school, high school, or across the others, there is that element. We do have shared space.
So while I think that shared space worked out, right, when we built the middle school, it was, hey, this is this many square feet that we didn't have to build, right? I think for music department, staff, students, their families, they're continuously getting hit. You know, we moved here, we lost our space. You know, a previous choir teacher retired, we never replaced her. Now we have another retirement, we're talking again about not replacing them. It's like, I think the message we're sending is, well, why get involved with that? We're just gonna get it cut, or we're just gonna get hit. This used to be a school that was known for the arts, and it just has tanked. So, I mean, I heard from staff that they weren't happy that the pictures went back up in the hallway. It's in their space. Who said it was your space? What happened to the music department's space? How come those pictures went away when we, you know, remodeled and added the middle school? How come it took so long for them to come back? Like, why aren't we showing our support for them?
I think what we're gonna do, because we're never gonna come up with a perfect plan here.
Well, we're
Sending
just-
it back to you guys to come up with numbers, give us statistics, and we'll go from there. Right?
It'd be the best way.
Yeah, I mean,
So, okay, when you say numbers, what exactly do you mean?
Impact of the budget without this position.
yeah,
Okay.
that, the number of students that would be impacted.
How
many kids?
impacted? Like,
Well,
how
like-
many fifth graders?
Well, fifth graders would probably know, because they'd be moving into sixth grade. But,
But they would have that opportunity still.
right,
It'd be the incoming
and how many
fifth
people
graders.
would sign up for it? You know, would we be filling the classes if we would be keeping all the instructors?
Question I would have would be, what are they getting in general music as opposed to if they were in fifth grade band?
Well, they get both if they choose to sign up. So all of my kids
Currently.
in my building get general music.
Okay,
So it's a mix of musical instruments, singing.
okay, so
Only
if they're
through
not,
fifth grade though,
Nope.
not sixth grade?
Nope, sixth grade.
Sixth grade also.
if
Yep.
they're
So they're
in,
double dipped if they
if
want
they're
to.
in general music, they still have exposure to the instruments, play with them somewhat, so.
General instruments, right? Like not the whole, they're not gonna, break out a tuba in music class, but just general music instruments they have exposure to. It just won't be explicit band
You're just
instruments.
picking on tuba players.
That's the first thing that came to my head. I didn't, that's ironic. I researched this before,
Fifth graders
Dave.
handle a tuba.
That is very
And they
ironic.
wouldn't be getting lessons.
Yeah. So yeah, right now they just have an extra opportunity in fifth and sixth grade to take band if they wish. So fifth grade, if they take it, they lose out on morning intervention time and other check-in services. Sixth grade, if they take it, they're losing out on some study hall time.
So students in sixth grade who are not participating in band are having a study hall.
Correct.
And for what period of time?
It's about 35 minutes.
Is
So
that
if
the
they
same
take
for
no
fifth
band,
graders?
there's no study hall for fifth grade. So intervention, it would be more like they're working on
Starting
iReady.
time or-
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they're working on iReady or other specific skill set assignments. So fifth grade is losing out on that opportunity that third and fourth have that Mike was explaining before about how our interventionists are supporting during that time as well.
And is it true there's no more sixth grade choir?
Correct, there hasn't been for 2 years.
And why was that cut?
We had to make a scheduling change to push Danielle out of the rotation, who was doing sixth grade guidance and SEL for the sixth grade team. We needed to backfill that position with another option without hiring, so putting music back in was our only, again, fiscally responsible choice at that time.
Because up to the point of that, you in sixth grade had a choice of band, choir, or general music, but you had to do one of the three.
I
If I
don't
remember
think,
correctly.
they didn't have an option of general music. They had to choose band or choir when I first started. That was the only option. Not in sixth grade. They had to take band
In
or
sixth
choir.
grade, there was, I mean,
And maybe prior to me, that was it,
Yeah.
but when
Yeah,
I
it's
got here, it was
it's
just
prior
band or
to,
choir.
yes.
Yeah.
So as the saying goes, ball's in your court.
Alrighty. Okay, and then the other position that we have an opportunity to look at, is a library media specialist at the intermediate school. So again, we have some options. Option A would be to fill the position. We would be maintaining current programming and staffing and perceived lack, the comment would be a perceived lack of fiscal responsibility later in the referendum. Option B, if we don't fill the position, again, savings in Fund 10, being fiscally responsible, and an opportunity to restructure current program to utilize the staff time fully. The intermediate school team feels that the position can be reduced without a negative impact on programming within their rotations. The con is that we have two librarians. We would have to be looking at how would we share the library services on the 2 sites between 3 sites. There would be more daily services conducted by paraprofessionals in that building. Option 3 would be to reallocate the position. So that would mean that there really wouldn't be a cost savings, but we have other positions that we would see as high needs. So we've talked about a high school counselor, academic and career coordinator, high school assistant principal as an academic and career coordinator, a social worker, nurses aides. A request was made for a full-time substitute, like having somebody on staff that we know is gonna be here all day as a substitute, or all year as a substitute. So the pros is we would meet identified needs in other areas of the district without increasing the budget footprint. And we would provide more student support depending on what position would have that money. So those are your 3 options.
Would the parents be on board to take the extra responsibility? If we talked to them?
We'd have to have a conversation. It
Right.
didn't feel right to have the conversation prematurely, not knowing. We did talk about increasing compensation for the additional duties that that person would have to take on.
If a para were to take on that.
The support person in the library ideally would take that on. Yep.
Mhm.
Right now, we have a full-time support person, Dasha, in our library.
So the option 3 is basically suggesting that we don't fill the position as is and instead use those finances to create one of these new positions.
Yes, that is an option.
I think the state we're in, I'd rather see a budget reduction than the footprint the same.
I think the way that the current feelings out there, that we may have to start looking at cutting people.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the case, that we have to look at cutting positions, I would not look to option C to then create or hire a new one that really
Right.
looks bad.
Yeah.
I think it'd be appropriate to have a conversation. Would be nice to know their thoughts.
Yeah.
Barb and I did, Barb is our current librarian, we did have a conversation about this, and I just got her perception on all of it. You know, she feels we've been really lucky over the last many years, I don't know when, you know, the library position was adapted the way it is now. But she said she feels lucky that we've had this opportunity where we do have a librarian in every building. It is a huge benefit, it's not something that every district always has the opportunity for. She also understood though that, you know, from a financial responsibility standpoint, that this was a possibility, and again, she was supportive of either decision and said that she would work, you know, to support whatever option we pick to make sure that it's most successful. But I do agree, including again the other librarians in the district, and the support personnel is gonna be important on whatever decision we make, whether we fill or don't, on next steps.
And unfortunately, most districts have moved to significantly less, and I'm not advocating that, I'm just giving information. That where state law says you only have to have one library media specialist in a district, as part of that. And so, the other option you would have, if you think about transitioning it to a different position, you could actually wait till after the referendum, which would be a year away, to consider whether you would want to actually utilize that savings or not utilize that savings, and that way you wouldn't feel like you're hiring someone for 1 year and then letting them go. I think someone had mentioned that here, as a possibility. So there was Marquette did a research, and people are very frustrated with property taxes right now, and that has a lot to do with there's no state funding that came in, and it was all put on the taxpayers.
Big thing in the paper yesterday.
So, just giving you information, you know, ultimately, there's no decision that we need just need to know to share, you know, provide you guys the information for next month, because the bigger part of this is regardless, whatever's decided moving forward, we have to do scheduling.
Right.
Because we have a whole new cohort of kids coming through and we have to iron that out, and Tyson and I are meeting tomorrow to already start the high school scheduling, which we'll spend about a month on, then I'll move to the middle school with Todd, then I'll move to the intermediate school with Heather. And so, whatever you decide, we're fine with. We just,
I think there too, get together, have a discussion, come up with a plan. Okay.
For which option? Well, see, I think that's part of it too, you know, we could come up with a plan for option A and a plan for option B, a plan for option C. But then we wanted your input to come in, like, okay, so which one should we concentrate on?
So shouldn't this technically been like an action item then, like, we want you to proceed this way? Because I mean, we might not all agree.
Yeah.
Well,
Look into A and B.
Through discussion, we could get a direction, which is what I had originally said, we know which direction would you like? And then we'll work up a recommendation based on the direction you would point us in.
So prior to, let's say when the middle school was still in Casco, we had 4 library media specialists, correct? 1 at each building. So again, when the middle school came to Luxembourg and we had a retirement, we didn't fill that spot then. So we already took our 4 down to 3. So now,
But we only have 1 library. It's between middle and high school, right?
correct.
It's not 2
Yes,
like we had
correct.
before.
Yep. So now currently, as is, we have a library media specialist at each building.
Just,
I mean,
yeah,
basically
Sarah's
here-
the library media specialist, everyone else is a librarian, right?
Library.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah, Karen.
my apologies.
And then moving to models, you know, the most common model, because districts are only required to have 1 library media specialist, we have had 3. You know, with the reduction with this, retirement, we could go down to 2. And we're still, you know, we're only required to have
Still
1.
one.
And what happens is, when you have multiple sites, usually the libraries are run by paras. That's a very common model.
Heather, at your building, the library is considered one of your 6-day rotations?
Yep, it would stay a 6-day rotation, or part of the 6-day rotation, we'd have to modify it, obviously. From a para perspective, we wouldn't have Dasha teach lessons like we would have Barb teach. So hypothetically, right now, where my mind is at, obviously not talking to the other librarians, but it'd probably go down to a 2 times every 6 days split with another related arts offering. So that way it's 30 minutes a session versus an hour. My idea would be that one of those 30 minutes would be checkout SSR based, and then the other would have an opportunity for, I mean, really whatever. Mike and I talked about doing some team building type opportunities in there where it doesn't require somebody with a teaching license, but there's still that like teaching framework, I guess you could say, and team community building opportunities for our students.
so she probably doesn't, maybe is not aware of this. So in ELA class, if we teach you certain skills, a paraprofessional, Linda would know this, like Mrs. Bushy back in the day, she could reteach skills. And so if it's already taught in the core classroom, it can be.
I know this, come
Well,
on, give me a little more credit.
But you can still count the minutes, that's my point. And so I think we have a mindset of it's because it's just this person, we need to shift away from having that.
From an
of it.
instructional minute standpoint, though, we're not in a bad spot. We sat down
Yeah.
and calculated everything,
Yeah,
so
but you
regardless
wouldn't-
if we could count that as instructional minutes or not, we are fine.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have to take it off anyway. 'Cause-
Well, we can't take it off, regardless, that has to stay in the rotation. And I've talked to the board about this before, we have 6 homerooms, we have to have 6 offerings. If we don't have 6 offerings, now we're having to pool one of those, 6 homerooms and disperse them amongst all the rest of the related arts classes, which is now making classes of 30 plus, which is not ideal. So we need that to stay in the rotation, it's just that we would have to get creative in the way we offer it.
When I was there, many years ago, they only had instruction in the library every other time. And the
Yep.
time that they didn't, we went in with them, because we helped them pick out their books.
I mean, the goal is still going to be exploration, finding that love for reading. I know it's a really safe space for a lot of students. I want that to remain that space. It's just going to look different if we don't hire.
I'd be in favor of do not fill.
Well, but it's only discussion, so we
Right,
really
just-
can't,
well,
yeah.
They want a direction.
So
Yeah.
for,
Well, no, but that's what we wanted to hear, because, well, again, because it's like, you know, yes, we could flush out all three of these, but then, or we could give you a recommendation, and, you know, depending on if the lean of the board was to, with the upcoming referendum, to be proactive, to reduce positions if we can, then, you know, that's one thing. If you think that, you know, we need, you know, to stay strong on music education, that's another thing. And we can do whatever you wanna do, but, you know, we didn't wanna bring a recommendation, you know, that we should do this, and then, you know, well, don't do that because, you know, we're coming up with a referendum, we shouldn't hire that position, okay. Then we did all of this work and research and had all these meetings that we didn't need to do. If that is not what the lean of the board is. So that's why we wanted, you know, what is your opinion? You know, not that it is binding, not that it is an approval, but just so that we at least had an idea of where you were thinking before we put a bunch of work into this, because that is what it's gonna take.
I'd like to see at least the fiscal impact of option A versus option B.
Yeah,
I'd like to see the current staff included. I mean, Heather says she, you know, met and talked with Barb.
Yeah.
Okay, on the music side, did we talk with that teacher? No, that teacher was excluded and we talked with everybody else. So why did we talk with everybody else if we didn't talk with all of the other library?
Because we wanted to get your opinion on where to go first. We were giving you the option, since you are the board.
So
To set
I'd
the
like to see
direction.
those conversations include the existing library staff, because if they stay here, they're the ones that are going to have to divide the workload or have the change if that's the result that occurs.
I also remember when we had the discussion for the other referendum, this last 3-year one. That was one of the things where we were going to cut, was the librarian at the intermediate. And that's when Barb had suggested that she would retire that year. So, give us the cost versus the savings. Okay, discuss and approve summer school courses. Oh, Greg, hi, are you still there?
Questions for me at all? You received the packet. We have 49 classes offered this year for summer school, 31 instructors, 7 new, 24 returning. We are in compliance with Act 20. We did find some reteachers to meet Act 20 laws in place for that. That's great. With your approval, we'll go live to families to preview it on Monday, March 30th, and then we sign up on Saturday, April 11th.
Looks good.
It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. Questions for me?
Even getting the Kiwanee County Health Department.
Yeah, I mean, 4-H this year, come on board as well,
Yes.
so we got a few new programs, it's great.
He's really good at twisting arms.
Yeah, I try my best.
I have an arm, but no. I know where to go for an arm twisting.
I'll make a motion to approve the summer school courses as provided.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the additional middle school golf coach.
The short version is, this is my 10th year here, and I think the largest numbers we've had has been maybe 8, perhaps 10. We have 29 just for 7th and 8th grade, and I make that point because you had previously been asked, like, if it's possible to include 6th grade, should we, and our league allows it, and so on and so forth. Well, there are another 18 there who are interested. So this is purely numbers based. Otherwise, we would have one coach trying to work with almost 40 golfers at each of the
Impossible.
locations. And then we would struggle with a schedule. If you approve, there was a very close second when I hired the golf coach earlier, so, and I had interviewed him already. The schedule has come in. We have the ability to bring up to 12 golfers to each of the dates, so we, schedule-wise, would be able to get them. I've talked to Gretchen already about the transportation, because that would look different, and we have a plan if you approve.
The stipend for the golf coach, how does that compare to the dance team coach? Because we didn't have a dance team this year, so we wouldn't have expended any coaching salary, correct?
That is correct. It's an outstanding question that I wasn't expecting you to ask me.
Sorry.
That's okay. We did modify the coaching salaries for this year to make them closer to the normal season. Off the top of my head, that meant that the dance coach was going to get paid even more than they had in years prior, because the season was twice as long as it had been when that was originally approved. I think it's comparable. Please don't quote me on it. I don't
No,
think it's
that's
dollar for dollar, but it's close to that.
And would this just be for a 1 year? I mean, the individual that if you post and hire for this, it's, hey, you're the second coach for 1 year, and we revisit again next year based on numbers?
All coaches are one.
All schools are one.
What she said. And what I would say is, that's difficult to project, because this is our first year with sixth grade. So where I can see now 6th and 7th grade numbers, that gives me an idea of next year. The year after, I don't know exactly what 6th grade will be. My guess, to be honest, this wouldn't be a one and done, the way this feels. But I could be wrong.
What you said too, is totally based on.
It is based on numbers, yep.
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the donation for the playground equipment from Hooray for Hollywood.
We briefly mentioned it last time we were here, but they gave us a nice check, and I think I mentioned to you that they encouraged us to apply every year until we meet our goal, which is really exciting. So happy to partner with them and happy to get a nice check from them.
Yes, thank you.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I will second. Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve the donation for playground equipment from the Hallsworth family.
Yes, this one came to us, I think her name is Lisa Holsworth, saw Amy
Yep,
Oisty,
Lisa.
my secretary, out one day and asked her about it, and so I sent her an email. She had emailed us, and then I sent her an email back kind of explaining what we were looking for, and they were wanting to donate some money, and so that's what you see.
I'll make a motion to approve that donation from the Hillsborough family.
And I'll second it. Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Discuss and approve start college now and early college credit for summer 2026 and fall.
Just starting to plan for next year, next school year already, so these are all the students that are looking to take classes at TC and GB, summer and fall.
I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Good thing it was approved. I broke my arm signing all of those. It was great to see so many. Yes, I pre-approved. Because I knew you guys would. Discuss and approve switching from Power School to Infinite Campus.
So we have been unhappy with Power School for quite a long time. In case if you're wondering, the second part of that is, there's actually 3 states that just went from Power School to Infinite Campus. There's one major difference between Infinite Campus and Power School. Power School buys out another company to create an add-on program, then they buy out another one, and they don't talk very well all the time, and they don't function very well. Infinite Campus wants something new, and they build it using their computer programmers. So it actually works the way it's supposed to. It's integrated the right way. It actually works the right way. So as just a real simple example, we can set for lunch balances, if you are part of free and reduced, here's the number that we want to send an email out, it'll automatically do that. For everybody else, we can do this, right? And it sends it out. Power School, we still can't do that. And so that if we ask first, if we give suggestions, it just falls on deaf ears. It's the same reason why we're leaving Exact Path, EduClimber to go to Next Path. And so we can see the writing on the wall. Howard Swamico is already transitioning. Algoma is transitioning, and there's a number of other districts. I think there was 68 in Wisconsin already that have transitioned. And so based on your nods, I think you can kind of see, and we actually save money too. That is something that I know that you guys like. The only difference is we will transition our Schoology. We will wait a year, because what we don't want to do, unless if it's easy to do, but we'll work with the teachers on that to say, like, can we pivot to this, or do we need to wait a year because it's too much to learn this and do this? And I don't have that answer, because none of us are in that transition. We'll talk to Algoma, we'll talk to Howard Swamico, how did this go? What's the best way you went about it? And then we'll work with our teachers to think about that. Questions you have, and you know, what really is telling, so Gretchen is our super user of Power School. She's all on board, and I was like, oh, well, that's a good sign, coming from the person who uses it a lot, so.
We talked about,
Yeah, we
a
talked.
whole bunch at convention and whatnot also, and this is far and away the direction to go, so.
So Infinite
I'll make the
Campus has
motion
same
to, if it's up
features
for a
that
motion.
the Power School does.
And way more. And at a reduced, so like Tyson has, what's the hall pass system,
Secure Flex and Secure Pass.
Yep. That actually is part of the whole package, so if Todd wants to use it at the middle school, there's no additional cost. It's actually cheaper in Infinite Campus. And so there's a lot of things that are significantly better and extend across. It's the same as Schoology. Our 6th grade teachers would like to use Schoology, but they can't because it costs us more money. And so actually they'll have access to be able to use the same program in Infinite Campus. And so.
So this year with Power School, we introduced the whole absentee sort of thing, like submit their absence and so on. This school year, the secretaries are still taking like phone calls like, hey, my child is sick, I'm not bringing them to school. But now we were told that next year it was gonna be all Power School or nothing. Like there was no report your child absent, press 2, you know, sort of thing on the telephone or whatever. So I don't know about anybody else, but I have found that the Power School absentee thing is somewhat okay if you're just reporting your child absent, but let's say you told that tomorrow you have an ortho appointment, and in the meantime the ortho changed your appointment, you cannot go back and edit. Like I've tried. Okay, I just want to make sure I wasn't the only parent who was doing it wrong. But I was like.
The answer to that is we actually lock it, so people can't go back and edit. I think we could
So
leave.
then I tried to create a new entry for like the 1.5 hours before, thinking, hey, I already told it that my child was gonna be absent at noon. So now I'm just gonna tell it my child is also gonna be absent from 10:30 until noon. And it would not be during the entry because they told me you already have an entry for this day. It just, I saw it in a Klein school anyway, but
Yeah.
I just thought, hey, this is a great thing, and all of a sudden I'm like, but it's not very functional.
It shows the limitations to Power School because it's the attendance market, it's a third-party vendor that does it, and that's where we're kind of going with, one of the big reasons why is Power School doesn't develop their own things, they contract out for these things, and then you try to contact them and they're like, well, we can't even fix that because we don't actually have that as a product of ours.
Yeah, when we were doing, you don't even wanna know, but I wanna dive into it, but like scheduling wise and storing grades and something, we couldn't store grades because of this third-party vendor, and Gretchen was like, so we won't, I
Okay.
won't bother you with that.
A motion's been made by Dave, and I will second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we come into the next step. Policies. Does anyone have any questions before I try to move this along? Dave, nothing?
To be honest, I was gone on vacation, I'm back, I'm so backed up behind at work. You notice my binder clip is still on them, I haven't had a chance to read any of them. I talked with John, who gave me a good analysis of it, so I have no questions.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot.
Vacation maybe was good.
By the way, we couldn't get our packets because the janitors had the doors locked last week. Oh, they weren't
Spring
open.
break.
Oh,
Yeah. Did you try calling Jennifer?
no, I didn't call, because they were they were in the, intermediate.
Oh,
but-
them through the door.
Yeah, I could see them through the, I could see 'em through the door and look down the hall and there's nobody there.
Yeah, Jennifer was there all week, so.
Okay.
She could open the door.
So, I would like somebody to give me a motion from going from letter G all the way to triple D.
I'll motion.
Motion by Jonathan. Second?
I'll second.
Second by Jenny. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Oh. Do you know how many pages this is? Okay, information items. Health insurance, 2627.
Okay, so there's a new update to this information on health insurance. So, if you look at the very first bullet point, it shows our usage and, for the last 3 years, and actually I looked at it for the last 5, and it's always over 100%, so our usage rate is horrible. You know, we've tried different things to help lower that. We've been working with a discount prescription company, and that has worked with decreasing some of our prescriptions and has made it easy for our employees that are on reoccurring medications. We offer teledoc services, we offer Bellin Near Care, so for $20 you can just go across the street over to Bellin.
Non-zero.
And, sorry, it's zero because, yeah, for free. You're right, for free you can go over there and they will, they'll check you out or, give you a prescription or, but we still have these really high usages, despite efforts of trying to reduce that. When you look at our usage, there's some key indicators that are listed there. When we went out to bid with WCI, our current carrier, it was originally 13%. And then through negotiations with them, they were able to reduce it to 11%. We anticipated a 10 to 12% increase. In the referendum calculations, we budgeted 10%. So we're not budgeted as high as that renewal premium came back. Historically, in 23-24, we had a 15% increase, and we had to make plan changes to get that 15% because we were up in the 20%. In 24-25, we started at 14%, and we were able to negotiate it down to 8% with no plan charges. This last year, we got a 9.5% with no plan changes. And now we're looking at 11%. And so we went out to bid, and what happened was, we got a bid back from the Robin Health Cooperative at 14%. The other ones refused to bid because they couldn't be WCA. And so the representative from Robin said, take the 11% and run. He said, with the discounts that you have and our high usage rate, they're not gonna be able to do any better. And that was confirmed with, people that just looked at it and said, we can't beat it, we're not gonna bid. So now currently, the district pays 90% and our employees only pay 10% of the premium. Other districts have chosen to go to like 87-13, 85-15. We have not done that. That was suggested to us from M3 to it's cost shifting. We could go down to 9.5%, but then we would end up shifting the cost to our employees, and we don't want to do that. So, bearing that 11% is something that the district would be doing. We talked to other districts to co-op because we're at such a high usage rate, we're a bad risk for them. We keep trying to get more, if you have more people in the pool, and it kind of spreads it out because you have more healthy people and more, sick people, and it spreads it out over a larger group. Those fluctuations in usage end up smoothing out under a large group. So we're trying to get more people in, but again, until we can get our usage rate down, we're just not a good risk. Nobody wants to join with us at this time.
Which districts are in our co-op?
Agoma, Kiwani, and Washington Island.
So there's 4 of us.
Right, and there was all the Door County schools at one time, but their provider up there is Purveya, and Purveya came before I got here with a really sweet deal locked in for 3 years. Well, now they really wanted to start going back into the co-op because they're doing like 30% increase because they had a low increase for that lock-in for 3 years that they took, so they took the discount. Now they're trying to make it up. And they're on an HMO, so they're limited to go to Purveya, and their usage is, like in the 90s. But then there was another way to look at it, because it's different, because you get more discounts on an HMO. So if you're going, ours is not, because we're trying to keep a very broad plan for our employees so that they can go to Aurora or Bellin or Purveya, wherever they want to go. We're trying to keep that, because we know if we start narrowing it, it's very rare that we're going to be able to expand it back out. So we're trying to make changes that aren't going to be irrevocable. And when you look at that, if you take away that discount for being on an HMO, their usage rate is about as high as ours is, too. But we were told, the only one that isn't is Southern Door. Southern Door is actually down in like around the 80%. So it would be advantageous for us to have Southern Door, but not advantageous for Southern Door to join us. And so with the other one, the same kind of thing, the way that it's set up and the way the discounts, they would have been a bad risk for us to take on as well. Everybody's high. We have an aging workforce, us particularly, for some reason, we just have had a lot of, Rebecca and I were talking about this, our sub-budget is going to be way high this year because we just have so many people out on illness and it's FMLA qualified. So it's just, we have a lot of cancers, a lot of, we're talking, we have somebody that's going to be leaving the district, but before they go, they're going to have both knees replaced. Which, that's their option, we have insurance, but then it impacts, the whole group and all that kind of stuff happens. That's where we are at health insurance, we're at 11%, and it's not gonna, unless we make plan changes, it's not gonna go down. Now, Rebecca and I talked again, we had budgeted 10, it's an additional percent, the district can eat that 1%, but, people have to realize that too, that, our health insurance is way higher.
It used to be the Door Kiwani Consortium. And then,
Have the name, I think.
yeah, and then Michigan also was with us.
Well, we were talking to Michigan, we're talking to, the Manitowoc County schools, we have talked to some of the Brown County schools, we reached out to Wrightstown, we reached out to CESA 7. There's a lot of work that's been going on this, trying to, talking to the other superintendents and seeing where they are. Wrightstown was looking to join a co-op. They do a calendar year insurance. So ours starts July 1st is a new year, theirs starts January 1st. So they're in the process of switching to July 1st. So once they're on the same cycle as us, then that's something to look at for them to join. And their current superintendent was very positive about that, but again, he's a short timer because, he's just the interim, he's leaving at the end of this year, so we'll have to see. Oh, yeah.
Superintendent, or the high school principal from Ashwaubenon.
Yeah, right. Dental insurance, we didn't get any increase, or we won't have any increase for next year. From 23-24, we had a multi-year, rate lock, so there was no increase. Then 24-25, we had a 2% increase, 25-26, we had a 2% increase, and then for 26-27, we'll have 0% increase for dental.
Consider a possible motion to adjourn to closed session. Motion by Jenny.
We don't have any, we don't have anything in closed session.
Okay. What do we do? Okay, we do it. Future agenda items. So get your calendars out.
So we need HR, buildings, ground, and we need a finance. Okay.
We're looking for finance.
When do you want to do finance?
What works for you?
We don't have to vote. That's you.
I'll make it work.
Fairly open now.
Slacking already?
You did the same to Bob over.
There's a lot of love in the air. so-
Dave's looking for his. I took my slip out today. The back. Okay, so Jonathan, you're on.
I'm on finance. I know
Okay,
Dave next
and
week, he had the
Dave
meeting
is-
ready, but the third person wasn't there, so. I'm
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Says
whoever
Dave,
wasn't
Alex,
impressed, it was
and
just the
John.
two of us.
If these are updated.
This past year.
That can't be.
No, that's prior year. It's probably Robin, because he's not here.
The
Oh,
31 is
yeah.
on here. I don't think they changed the dates.
What works for Wednesday or Thursday?
April.
I know Wednesday or Thursday
Yeah,
is back
so I
up.
have to vote then.
You're gonna have to look at the name. Get May 2025.
Minutes that you got.
That's on the website, isn't
Something is on the website. Committee assignments, finance, Dave, Alex, Melissa, and John.
Yes, you were the lucky one that had three.
HR is Brandy, Alex, and Linda. And buildings and ground is Alex, Brandy, and Robin.
You're welcome.
I make a motion, we skip pay that meeting.
Come on, we make it easy.
Okay, finance, when are you gonna do this?
Wednesdays are good,
Wednesdays are good for me.
not April 8th.
Do you want to do the 15th?
Tax day.
Or do you care if we do finance or central?
Doesn't matter.
So how about April 15th? Do the finance. The time,
Like 5:30 or 6? 5:30?
Yeah,
so that's the finance.
Where are we
So,
gonna meet?
in my office, yeah.
Any chances of doubling it nothing that Wednesday?
You know,
Honestly,
we could.
Because the finance one's not gonna take forever.
No, it's just an update and
Update on the budget, how it's looking, yeah. So that one would be a short one.
The HR would probably be longer.
It's, yeah, it's again to help give us
But I
some
think it'd be
direction.
easier to do both of them.
We could do that.
On HR on the 15th, is that what you're telling
Who's
us?
on HR?
So, okay, so let's do HR at 6 o'clock on the 15th.
Yours are gonna be done in a half hour.
It's just reviewing the budget,
Yeah.
so,
Just kind of give you
Yeah,
an update
right.
of what we want.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so then we have buildings and grounds.
Does that mean around?
Brand.
Really? When is
How, let's do that after the finance.
She's like, I thought I was done after.
We can all three on the same night.
If we start early.
You got on Monday the 20th.
On what day, the 20th?
Okay, wait, okay, on the 20th at 4 o'clock? I just, all in my office. One, two.
You want anybody else maybe?
Oh, this is fine for now, thanks.
Okay. You know what, policy to come back for a second time?
Yes.
Biggest policy, you can get that.
Okay. Okay, then, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brandy, second by
I'll second.
Alex, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Todd, you didn't need these back, did you? Pictures?